departs from servicing the SAM business? I'm just asking. That's not on.
That's
Does that mean they're leaving?
that's the
JPA?
implication
Is
of
that
the recent
implication?
action that
Yeah.
I
they've
saw
done.
that. Yeah, no, they're there this year halfway, but not.
What was this?
The JPA.
Cities,
Oh.
It's
cities.
pulling out?
Capital
Yeah.
Bay is pulling out in 1920.
Oh, yeah.
Stay tuned.
They're gonna
Yes.
get
Yeah.
so they said.
Oh, they hired like a
Right, another
third
guy
party?
to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Well, they say they will.
Is that what it means?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Oh my God, she's got it. We should get her a flag she can drop. You know, like when they start the NASCAR races. Yeah, I think it'd be good.
Okay, at 9 o'clock.
All right,
Okay.
I'll open my binder.
Okay, all right, go for it.
It's official.
Okay, I want to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Directors for Tuesday, August 14th, 2018. And with that, I'll ask for a roll call.
Of course. Director Coverdale? Oh, Director Michelson?
Yes.
Vice President Coverdale?
Are you sure? I'm sure that I'm here, whoever I am.
Feels like someone's sure about something.
Director Reynolds?
Oh, yeah.
Director Glassberg?
Here.
President Feldman?
Yes.
It's tough sometimes, isn't it?
Okay, pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay, public comment.
We need
Seeing
some
no members of
public.
the public here, I'll go to the next item, consent calendar. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any of the directors want to talk to or pull off the agenda at this point?
Yeah, I just had a comment, but I can wait till after the motion. It's not anything that's going to
When
stop
did
the
the
motion.
motion, before or after the comment? What?
Well, he can do it whenever he wants to.
You can do whatever you want.
I just had wanted to have validation when I was looking at the monthly sales by category of water. Am I correct in interpreting that we're up over 10% in July was up over 10% this year from last year?
It's a 2-for-1 sale we ran.
Yeah.
Yes, it is,
Yes.
and that's
That's in the-
largely in the ag categories.
And
I mean, we had,
Summer.
yeah,
Okay. But that's,
Yeah, we're-
but compared to July of
had a
last year,
heavy
though,
month,
it's, I would assume that July of last year would have been a bigger month for ag also. So I was just pleased to see we sold a lot more water.
Well, and you all get the weekly production
Right.
report,
Todd Schmidt.
and we had a 20 million gallon week, which is pretty,
Thomas on it.
yeah, that's the
Big week.
peak for the year so far.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
I reviewed the accounts payable and also the petty cash statement, and I found everything to be in order.
Okay, so I have a motion to accept the consent calendar.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Yes. Director Michelson?
Yes.
Vice President Coverdale?
Aye.
Director Reynolds?
Yeah.
Director Glassberg?
Aye.
President Feldman?
Yes. Meetings attended, director comments.
I had a Bosca meeting, again, more about the Bay Delta plan. The Tuolumne River Trust is putting the full court press on us, and they've stacked the room with scripted comments, parroting what Dreckmeyer probably told him to say. I didn't see a single one of my customers or our customers there, so it's clearly a, yeah, at his direction, he's marshaled his forces to give us his opinion, and I don't, well, again, I don't see anybody from our district getting involved in it. I wish people would follow, at least have an understanding, because down the road, there may be implications to our customers, and then the rest is, can't talk about it, closed session.
Okay.
Did I violate anything? Thank you. And we're going to be talking about authorizing Bosca to act on our behalf
Right.
in negotiating. So
Later in
that's a
the
later
agenda.
agenda item. Thanks.
Any other meeting comments? Hearing none, we'll go to general business. Item A, consider resolution 218 to be determined to stop the escheatment, I think you pronounced that,
Oh, yeah, that's quite a word.
Achievement policy of unclaimed money for Coastside County water. Anybody know how to pronounce that? Is there a legal
It's, okay, let me see if I can do it.
E-cheatment.
Escheatment.
cheatment?
Escheatment.
Escheatment.
Oh,
It doesn't
that's
have
all
a
the
very
letters. Wow,
positive-
that's
It
cheap.
does
No,
not.
it doesn't.
Okay.
But I suppose
Okay.
it's better than calling it Widows and Orphans Fund or
Yeah.
something, but.
So this is really a housekeeping issue. Our auditors have requested that we put a formal policy in place. There is a California government code that allows us to, to have this escheatment policy. Basically, what it is, we have a number, we have a few checks every year that never get cashed. And, we do, internally go out and try to find the people to give them their money, but we always end up with this, a small amount of checks. I mean, right now, we have about $800 worth of checks that go back 3 years. So what this policy is that when checks get to be 3 years old, we have a notification in the paper, and if no one comes to claim the money, then the district can keep the money. So that's, basically it in a nutshell.
Are we considered a beer fund for the workers?
Yes.
So I thought checks weren't good for 3 years.
Normally, they're not, and so if somebody had a check that was more than 6 months old, they could come back to us and we
Yeah.
would reissue it. So we would,
No, I'm confused, because if we're holding unclaimed checks, and they're only good for 6 months, and we hold them for 3 years, then they're no good, right?
well, the owner or the person who wrote the payee, actually can come back to us. They can file a claim with us up to 3 years, before we,
reissue.
and have us reissue the check. But we have to hold those funds, we have to hold those funds aside.
One more to know.
So the person who hasn't cashed the check could show up and say,
About my
Yeah.
$1.50.
Part of the practice too is that we'll post a list of outstanding checks on our website. That's typical for this situation.
But I have a question.
Director Lassman.
What does it cost us to place an ad for 2 weeks?
About $800.
Depends on the size and.
Well, I assume this is a small ad. I mean, it's not saying much.
One of those tiny little,
Yeah.
tiny font, public notice ones.
public notice.
So
It's
we
probably
have
not worth- yeah.
we have to spend
More to do.
a ton of money to then, and it could be as little as $15.01 according to the policy. Is that, I tried to read the government code and it was so daunting, I just said, I'm done with this. So that's why we have legal counsel. Is that in government code, that $15, or does this board have any, we have no authority over that
that's all.
amount?
This is all per the government code.
I don't wanna
might
make
as
a
well
comment about too
follow
much
the government code. Yeah, I was
So,
gonna come up
the
with some good
auditors
ideas
have
too.
Okay, thank you.
found that we need to deal with this as a procedural policy thing,
Right.
which we should follow up on and go for. I mean,
I'm
it
really
costs
glad
more
we're
to,
cleaning it up.
costs more to implement it than we actually have outstanding, but I think it's still proper because we may at some point have a check that's bigger than that doesn't
Right,
get cashed.
exactly.
You just never know, so I don't see any questions,
Bet a
comments.
school district didn't lose our check.
Yeah. The Harbor District just put them in a drawer. It wasn't
As
a
I-
problem.
As I read this, I think we have to approve this, right, and vote on it. As I read this, I thought I would bring up the Netflix documentary I saw about a lady named Rita Crunwell, who worked for the city of Dixon, Illinois, and who over a period of 20 years, because of poor auditing and poor oversight and poor transparency, embezzled $53 million from the city,
Wow.
which they made up by funding through bond issues, $53 million. So, she was a CFO, by the way, that's not, just mentioning it. And all it showed me was that unless you really dot your i's and cross your t's, you can run into all kinds of interesting problems. And we, as an organization, I'm pleased to say over the years I've been here, have never run into the area or issue where we haven't been doing the things we need to do based on what I learned from this documentary and reading up on this, that protected us and protected the public and our community from these kinds of issues happening. But both the auditors and the city council, a number of the auditors were found guilty of malfeasance. The city council was all voted out. And generally speaking, this was quite a fascinating story since this CFO spent the money on buying 478 quarter horses, which he then bred and showed, amongst other things. So just, I'm pleased that somebody's watching the store. Let me put it that way. The more of this we need to do, the better I like it, because it keeps us from having to deal with unfortunate and surprising issues like that, although that would not have been our situation. But it was very interesting. If you have a chance to read it, take a look at it. Okay, I'm fine. You want to have a motion to...
I'd like to move that we approve resolution number 2018.XX. Does that mean it's number 20?
It will be 06.
Oh, okay, 06. A resolution of the Board of Directors of CCWD adopting
Escheatment.
a non-cheating policy for the unclaimed money. Escheatment.
Escheatment.
Second,
Second.
roll call, please.
Yes, Director Michelson?
Yes.
Vice President Coverdale?
Aye.
Director Reynolds?
Aye.
Director Glassberg?
Aye.
Thank you for your
President
help.
Feldman?
Yes. Next item is
Gonna buy some trucks.
authorize to purchase three replacement fleet vehicles. Dave?
I'll let that
Good
team
evening,
talk
Board.
about it.
He's in charge of the fleet,
You made it.
and I made it. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. I had to take an
No worries.
alternate route due to Highway 1. A little accident. I'm glad I wasn't part of that.
Yeah, we all got the text message.
Yeah, John Davis even called to make sure it wasn't me. God bless him. We budgeted $100,000 for vehicles this year. We're looking to replace 3 that are over 10 years old and have quite high mileage. They're not quite at 100K yet, but they're very close to 100,000 miles. And we got the lowest bid from Ceremony Ford over in Redwood City. Very tight, close bids, so it means we're getting a good price. And the 3 vehicles for 2 4x2 trucks and 1 4x4 will be $79,897.71. And if you have any questions, I'm available to answer them.
Questions?
Does that include tax?
That's out the door,
That's
yes.
everything, yeah.
Well, I'd like to piggyback on that. I mean, would that be allowed? Because that's a hell of a price.
The 4x2 for $24,000.
Yeah.
That's a great
Good
price.
price.
Yeah.
But we can't offer it to board members or staff. It's government
Right.
fleet pricing.
Darn. Thank you.
Other comments?
You're gonna go with
Quarter
white.
horses again.
Yes.
White. Is that the color?
Oh, did
Be a block.
we get power windows, or did we special order the crank handles?
Power windows.
And anybody that's been here long enough will know exactly what I mean. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay,
We have a few without power
I'd like to move
windows.
we approve the purchase of the vehicles as presented.
I'll second that we fleet our fleet. And we should make this roll call fleeting.
No.
Okay, roll call, please.
Director Michelson?
Yes.
And Vice President Coverdale?
Aye.
Director Reynolds?
Yes.
Director Glassberg?
Aye.
President Feldman?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item C.
How do you go, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
How do you go about selling the used vehicles, or is it a trade-in? This is a price with these being traded in?
That's price out the door without a trade-in, but we have moved to trading vehicles in. I found that's the most efficient way to dispose of the vehicles.
And so they're gonna be traded in on this deal?
Yes, but I think the accounting works separate for the
Yeah.
trade-in. That's a check to us,
Oh,
purchase
cool.
the vehicles.
And what's the sales price on the used ones?
We don't have to bid
Do we
them.
know?
I don't know yet. I usually wait until they're ready
the
and
used
then
trucks?
offer them to the dealer and get a much better price than you would if it was a sealed envelope.
Yeah.
bid.
Cool, yeah, I was
I've
just
seen
curious.
vehicles go for $500.
Wow,
You could get a lot more for.
yeah, cool,
Okay.
good.
So you'll try and recoup some modest amount from present vehicles?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. Question?
No.
Comments? Okay. So going forward, Mary, going to talk about the approval of new job classification, senior distribution operator, treatment distribution operator assigned to distribution, treatment distribution operator assigned to treatment.
Okay. At the June HR committee meeting, and then at our closed session last board meeting, we discussed these positions in light of negotiating on and with our union and meeting and conferring. So what we're doing, first of all, we're creating a senior distribution operator job classification. This position is not an additional position. We're going to replace one of our internal positions, our treatment distribution operator, and promote to a senior level. We're doing this to, provide for our succession planning. John Davis is going to be, retiring in a couple of years, and we really want someone to take over as a lead crew person with the group. And I don't know if you have anything else you want to add with that, James?
No, I think you covered it quite well. When John Davis isn't here or available, there's needs for a lead operator, essentially in distribution, and this would fulfill that need. And I don't think it's fair to just stick someone in a spot while he's not here. And with John Davis's upcoming retirement in the next 2 years, this would be a nice way to groom someone that would potentially be able to succeed him.
Any comments?
Oh, but I did have a comment.
Great idea.
No.
Yeah, I had one question about, on the meet and confer process, in terms of feedback, input from SEIU, was there any, or they were?
No.
Thank you very much, and that was
Yeah.
the end of the conversation. Okay.
Teamsters.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, boy,
Wrong
We won't tell the
profession.
team.
Sorry about that. Wrong profession. 37 years carries a lot of weight, I can tell you. Teamsters.
We're also placing this, the salary range 20% higher than the treatment distribution operator position, and that's the middle between the distribution supervisor and the treatment distribution operator. So it's, so and we have that same, I'll say, equality between the treatment distribution operator, the senior treatment operator, and the treatment supervisor. So it's an equitable setup. So so then our next, so we have that point. Then the next approval we would like would be with our job classifications for treatment distribution operator. We want to separate out those assigned to treatment and those assigned to distribution. But really what it is that our we recognize that our treatment operators are taking on more responsibility. They have more accountability for for making sure that we have safe drinking water. And in terms of just, the job market, what you'll see is that the treatment operators are generally, paid more than the distribution operators. So what we're proposing is that we give the treatment operators a premium, and that's and we in our meet and confer, we came up with 12.5%. What we're also recommending is that for the distribution operators, since they spend 7 weeks a year doing treatment, we want to recognize that, so we're giving them a percentage of that 12.5%, which would be 1.7%. So Any questions?
Yeah, it's probably a James question. So looking at the senior distribution operator ability two, we're saying that they may ask as the district's cross-connection specialist, so why aren't we requiring them to be cross-connection control specialist certified or even backflow tester certified? And it seems like that would be kind of a no-brainer requirement under requirements for the senior distribution operator.
I think many distribution operators at this stage in their career, if they were eligible for a lead, would have that anyways, and I didn't want to specify it in there with another constraint or time limit. But that person would become certified as a tester and a specialist.
Okay. It's sort of, they can't act as the cross-connection specialist unless they have the specialist, so it's sort of like,
Understood.
yeah, it just sort of stood out as,
Right.
We wanted to, I think we wanted to establish that that could be part of the assignment for one of these folks without, and we recognize that certification with $100 a month certification bonus, but we didn't want to create a separate position or differential. And there is a substantial, usually I think we have one now, one, other than you, we have one certified backflow tester.
Yes.
All right, so it's a pretty big, getting somebody certified is a pretty significant investment for the district. You have to go to class for a week, so it's a.
I
it's a-
passed, if I can do it, you could do
No
it.
question that we have people that could do it, but we generally have had one or two people with that assignment. And certainly if others wanted to volunteer, we'd be open to that, but nobody's knocking on our door saying, hey, can I go to backflow certification school for a week?
So James, you're comfortable that the way the spec is written meets your objective in terms of what you think you need to be able to operate this?
I am, and I wouldn't
Okay,
ask
I'm
someone
just,
to-
I mean, it sounds like you're pretty comfortable.
Yes, I am, and I wouldn't ask someone to do specialist work without the proper certification.
Okay, so other comment?
No, good comment, though, thanks.
Yeah, no,
I'm sitting
No, I
on,
appreciate that, yeah.
I'm sitting on a committee that is in the process of redoing the rules for this subject, and so I'm a big fan that
no, I appreciate it.
Coastside County should certify everybody it can right now,
Oh, everything.
because, yeah.
You're gonna make it worse.
Other comment?
There's 35 of us, I'm
So-
fighting a rear guard action.
So what,
Well, it's not going to get better. We can guarantee
What he
that.
said.
the fiscal impact on this is really very marginal, minimal
Yeah.
actually. It seems like a creative way to take account of the need for structure change without redoing the entire environment and providing the kind of support we need at the right levels and giving people a chance to make their way through the organization. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I think it'll really help with chain of command and people knowing who to answer to.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that's basically, I think it's a very creative approach to doing this, and it looked like some effort was put into making this work as well as it has. Other comments, questions? So we need a motion?
No, we need one more position, don't we?
Huh?
Oh, do we need a?
No, I don't think, no additional position.
No additional.
No, it's all an
positions.
internal reset of things, and then at some point, of course, we may have to hire someone, but it'll be
You're
a different
confusing with the
position.
new truck purchase with this.
No, I just read,
No, there's not a new hire.
I read three new classifications.
Yeah, but no hires. There's not a new position.
Yeah.
So, no, this is all the
I thought
existing
she'd only reviewed the
infrastructure.
first
That's why I
two.
think it was a very creative.
Apparently, she's reviewed all.
Okay, so I move that we approve 3 new job classifications, specifically senior distribution operator, treatment distribution operator assigned to distribution, and treatment distribution operator assigned to treatment.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Michelson?
Yes.
Vice President Coverdale?
Aye.
Dr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Dr. Glassberg?
Aye.
President Bowman?
Yes. Next on the agenda is approval of salary schedule with job classification changes for FY 2018, 2019,
So-
effective August 18th, 2018. Mary?
So CalPERS requires that we update our salary schedule when we have the changes that we just discussed. So we have gone ahead and added the senior distribution operator position, the treatment distribution operator assigned to treatment, and the treatment distribution operator assigned to distribution. And we deleted the treatment distribution operator position. So that's included in the schedule.
And it's a separate transaction from this. This is a separate.
Correct.
Comments, questions? So this is to make it all copacetic.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2018, August 18th, 2018 salary schedule.
Second?
Did I do that right?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay, roll call, please.
Michelson?
Yes.
Vice President Coverdale?
Aye.
Dr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Dr. Glassberg?
Aye.
President Bowman?
Yes. Okay. Patrick Miyake, legal counsel, or his designee. his
Yeah,
designee.
one-handed typing.
Consider approval of resolution 2018/07. Is that a good guess?
Yes.
Establishing appropriations limit applicable to district during fiscal year 2018-19.
So this is an annual action that is fairly straightforward. I don't think it actually limits the district's ability to deal with finances at all, but it's legally required every year.
Well, I make a motion that we do it.
This is the most we could
Second.
spend.
All right.
We never get near that number.
The most
is that right?
proceeds of taxes we
Tax
could
money.
Yeah,
receive.
we've never
Yeah.
received any.
I was looking at the numbers.
I was gonna say, we never even.
I can hardly wait to go
I
for the
know.
big number.
The number's around 10 times what we actually
Yeah,
get.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
so I make a
So-
motion, we adopt this resolution.
And
2018.
receive it.
And receive it, perfect. And you
Okay,
second?
I second.
Yep, all
Roll
right.
call, please.
Aye.
Vice President Coverdale?
I'm wavering on this one.
Aye.
Dr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Dr. Glassberg?
Aye.
President Bowman?
Yes. Okay, so the next thing is Dave Dixon, resolution authorizing the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency to negotiate with the city and county of San Francisco to amend the water supply agreement. So, turn over to Dave, and I'm sure Chris will have something to comment on.
Okay, this is an item that has had quite a bit of discussion at Bosca with the water management representatives and with other representatives of the Bosca member agencies. The 2009 water supply agreement that Bosca negotiated on our behalf with San Francisco PUC and that we ultimately approved has some provisions that have become over time kind of out of date. The main interest that Bosca had was in talking with San Francisco about what's called the Tier 1 drought water allocation. When there's a drought, when San Francisco restricts the water supply, the first allocation of water is between the San Francisco retail customers and all of the Bosca wholesale customers. That's called the Tier 1, that's the Tier 1 allocation. And things have changed substantially in terms of water use since 2009. And the result of the Tier 1 allocation formula, if applied under today's conditions, would be to provide San Francisco retail with more water than they normally use, which makes no sense. So it would be, what would you call that, a negative drought cutback or something. So all of us would get cut back substantially under the Tier 1 allocation, and San Francisco retail would get more water. So that doesn't seem quite right. That's one of the issues that they knew they wanted to talk about. And they had some others that are less important that have just come up as they've gotten into the administration of this 2009 agreement. We're 9 years into it. And one of the milestones in the 2009 agreement was 2018. 2018 was the year that kind of the year that they agreed that they would make a decision about the limit on how much water San Francisco could take from all of its sources. That was part of the negotiation with the environmental groups who would otherwise have opposed the WISIP program through CEQA litigation, I guess, or NEPA litigation. Anyway, so there are a number of issues that have come up on both sides that make it the right time for the parties to sit down together and work through a modification to the 2009 agreement. I think Nicole Sankula is particularly interested in getting this done while the current SFPUC general manager is in place. He doesn't have a lot longer before he'll retire. And Harlan Kelly is his name, and Nicole feels like we have a very good relationship with Kelly, and this is the time to talk about these issues. And what they're asking us to do is to pass this resolution which authorizes BOSCA to negotiate on our behalf the issues that I've outlined in more detail in the staff report. It's important to note that even though BOSCA negotiates on our behalf, we still need to vote on and approve. You still need to approve any amendment to the water supply agreement. So they hope to conclude these negotiations by the end of the year and have all of us approve the amendment early in 2019. Did I get all that right?
Yep.
Okay. And Hanson Bridget's also the attorney for BOSCA, so they're intimately involved with these negotiations, as well as with the administration of the water supply agreement.
Chris, any comments, since you're the BOSCA guy?
Where do I start? Thank God it rained 2 years ago, and we never did get into mandatory rationing, because then we would have tested, a clearly unfair system. Now there's certainly an urgency, if the state board imposes, 40% unimpaired flows on the Tuolumne, water is going to become really dear, and it would be nice to have a fair allocation system between, San Francisco and the suburban customer. So the timing is good. My feeling, we just did our general manager review of Nicole, and she definitely is our advocate, and she is working clearly on our behalf to the very, very best of our ability, and we can rest assured she has our interests in mind. And we don't see Harlan Kelly a lot. He comes to our meetings once in a while. I would probably second the read that she's giving us on him. He seems like a guy that probably could be worked with, so it probably is a good window, because boy, we don't want to test, that there is another drought in our future, and it would sure be nice to have a system that we all feel is equitable, because it could really lead to some squabbling. So definitely something we want to do.
So it seems as if this is the right approach, and our experience. How long have we been members of BOSCA now?
Well, I go back to BAWA, so
Bawa.
so when I was first elected,
15 years.
Yeah, so BOSCA is about 15 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been a long-standing relationship, and we've had very positive and supportive.
I feel it's a great organization, and
they've been
clearly our advocates.
The whole is greater than the sum of its part, basically, is what we're saying here, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I see no reason that this is not something that we need to move forward on. Any other comments? Questions? Okay, take a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt that.
Second?
Sure, second.
Roll
Your
call,
motion
please.
is to approve the resolution?
The motion to
Yeah.
approve.
So this is 08.
Whatever it says.
Yes, this will be 08.
Do you want to read into the record? Would that be useful?
You want me to do that?
Approve resolution number 2018 dash, it'll be 07?
08.
Oh, wait.
No, I don't.
Authorizing Bay Area, do you want to read it?
No, go for
That's
it.
all right.
You're doing a good job.
Authorizing the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency, BOSCA, to negotiate amendments to the water supply agreement, WSA, with the city and county of San Francisco on the district's behalf.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Director Michelson?
Yes.
President Coverdell?
Aye.
Director Reynolds?
Yeah.
Director Glassberg?
Aye.
President Feldman?
Yes. Okay, our next item is from Kathleen Brennan, Resolution 2018, Part G, second dwelling units in San Mateo County of the general regulations regarding water service.
Okay, so first, I need to point out an error. There's a typographical error on attachment A, which is the resolution, draft resolution. There's a D missing in the word regarding, so we fixed that on the copy that's going to be signed, hopefully.
Regarding?
So in case you caught that, that has been
Yeah,
fixed.
I caught that. Beat me to it.
I beat you to
I see
it.
no yellow ink.
Right, and did it.
Oh, no, we got it. Got
Okay.
it. Transparency, right? So I guess this will be potentially resolution 2018-09?
Correct.
Okay. So staff is recommending that the board adopt the resolution and attachment A, which will be known as resolution 2018-09. And in this resolution, it removes Part G, second dwelling units in San Mateo County from the general regulations regarding water service, and reserves Part G for future regulations. So in attachment B, it kind of shows all the redlining of deleting the wording and how it will look in the table of contents with that Part G being reserved in the future.
I wiped it right out, didn't
I'm sorry, what?
I? Took it right out.
Yeah, that was easy to read and lots of red.
Yeah.
So in reviewing Part G, I, was reading back on some of the history. It mainly pertains to metering the individual dwelling units. So accessory dwelling units, secondary dwelling units, even like for duplexes and so on, for multifamily type housing is, the intent was to individually meter the units. And then I believe it was in 1986, the Board of Supervisors, they adopted a new regulation in the county regarding legalizing second units. And if I was reading it correctly, the findings from that resolution, it seems that the county board of directors approached the district to help with this, and so district staff at that time felt it was necessary to have this wording in the regulations to clarify how second dwelling units, new and existing wanting to be legalized, would be metered and what would be required submittals to the district. In the meantime, there's been some new legislation recently. There's been an effort at the state level to promote accessory dwelling units and to promote affordable housing and to streamline the approvals of accessory dwelling units. And both the city and the county have passed new ordinances reflecting those changes and new regulations from the state. So now district staff is recommending that we remove Part G because we feel it is no longer applicable. Our metering, we would treat the city and the county the same, and we will be adjusting our metering requirements to reflect the new requirements for the state in our water use efficiency ordinance. Which is the next agenda item. So I know it's probably a bit confusing why we're just deleting an entire section
yeah,
of
yeah,
our
yeah,
ordinance
that's right.
and not immediately replacing it, but.
Yeah.
So just kind of imagining, looking forward, what do you think we would require? I mean, would we require people to have a separate meter on the separate unit? Or, you know, what are you kind of imagining would be?
No, so, we will always, from a water use efficiency perspective or water conservation perspective, we would always encourage metering of dwelling units individually, but for accessory dwelling units or secondary dwelling units that are associated with a single-family dwelling on a single-family parcel residence and zoned properly, we would no longer require it be metered. So it would be up to
Well,
the, and
It's
this
still
would-
metered, but it's metered off
It would
the-
be master
Right,
metered
thank you.
through the single, so it wouldn't require its
separate-
own
Yes,
separate
exactly.
meter, which we call, which we often refer to as a double service. It usually comes off of the same service connection from the main to the property, and then it is horned or branched out into 2 meters.
In those situations, do we read both of those meters?
Yes, we always read
I
and
see.
bill and, yeah. So that's kind of changing in this effort to make these ADUs more affordable and to encourage their, the construction of them and in the community.
So fixture unit
Chris?
does not come into play, or?
Now, of course, fixture unit or demand does come into play. I mean, we have to make sure that the existing service is, and meter is capable of serving the demand. So there are limitations, and a lot of those limitations are specifically even spelled out in the city and county ordinances. I mean, these accessory dwelling units, since they're supposed to be affordable, you know, it's not like a duplex situation. They're smaller units, you know, 1 shower, 1 bath. So we will still look at that and consider that. But it's not going to be an automatic requirement though for a second meter for that accessory dwelling unit.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I got a question.
Ryan?
Page 4, service control valve, bottom of the paragraph. And James, maybe you can help me out on this, but my remembering of the 10th edition of Backflow is that when you have 2 services feeding 1 parcel, it's a RP is required, not a double check. And if I remember correctly, the policy of our district is not to encourage double checks, and our policy is for an RP. So it seems contradictory to then be adopting a general regulation that then names a double check. That seems like a bad idea.
Just interrupt for a second. We're not considering Part F.
Right.
So you could recommend that staff go
Do that
back
as a separate transaction.
and review
That's
that
not been
and
modified.
look at it, but this resolution that we're considering tonight has nothing to do with Part F. It's
But you
only Part
gave
G.
me Part F and you made me read it. It's like homework. You send it out on Friday. I'm supposed to get it. I'm supposed to read it. And then I get quizzed by like 20 of you while they film it.
Sorry. I apologize. I should have removed Part D, E, and F from the page.
Well, you
Only
just
doing
took off
Part G.
what was
The video's
in
got Zoom.
the general regulation.
Good you were paying attention.
Gave James homework.
Credit for that.
Arnie,
I
anything?
didn't catch your missing D,
you-
but I caught Part
I don't know
F.
if we comment on
So it's not subject to this particular discussion,
No.
basically, at this point. If it's a separup issue that needs to be taken up at some point, that would be appropriate if you feel that way.
I'd suggest a committee meeting.
I have a question, which is probably not germane here, but we're removing an entire section from this.
But we're gonna
Agreed.
put it
the
back
wording,
there.
yes. Part G will exist,
So
but
there'll be a void there for the
yes,
time being.
for the time being.
Okay. And at some point, there'll be something else that takes its place. In the meantime, during that period of void, somebody comes up with one of these guys. Are we able to handle that?
Yes.
There's enough wrapping around this to do what you need to do until we put in another G. That's all I'm trying to ask. It's like there's a big hole now.
Yes,
It wasn't that clear to me that,
yes, it's in, we have metering requirements in the water use efficiency ordinance, which we are going to amend, but in the
Okay.
meantime, it is covered by other regulations.
so the removal of this doesn't limit our ability to remedy the needs of people as they come forward for
Yeah.
these kinds of, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, no, we're still able to.
That would make us.
I'd like to move we adopt Resolution 2018-09, Part G, second dwelling units in San Mateo County of the general regulations regarding water service.
I'll second it.
And do we want to roll right on to the attachment?
Yeah, let's do that.
And including resolution, is 2018 is that going to be 10,
No.
the second resolution?
No, that's.
There's one resolution.
Yeah, the what is the
2018.
ordinance? Down, the next item.
There's one resolution, 2018-09,
09.
which will remove Part G, second dwelling units in San Mateo County from the
Okay.
general
Maybe
regulations
do
regarding
G
water.
first and then move on to H.
Well, the other part's just the attachment that is what you just moved, we approve. I
Right,
think.
the attachment is this guy. That's all red line here.
Yeah, the red
that's-
line, yeah.
And the next one, H, is a different,
Yeah,
Right.
H is a different.
okay. So roll call, please.
Yes, Director Michelson,
Yes.
Vice President Coverdell,
Yes.
Aye.
Director Glassford,
Aye.
President Feldman.
Yes. Okay, item H.
Okay, item H.
Kathleen again, proposed amendments to indoor water use efficiency ordinance and setting the date for a public hearing.
So, with these changes in accessory dwelling units and state legislation, we're proposing to handle that in the water use efficiency ordinance by defining what an accessory dwelling unit is, and then describing the metering and situations where master metering would be applicable to new construction or expanded water service. We're also proposing, so if I guess if refer to attachment A, which is ordinance 2018-01, there's also a lot of reds, and that's because we're proposing to remove the indoor water use efficiency table, because when we originally approved this ordinance in 2010 and then amended in 2014, these efficiency standards were not part of plumbing code or part of the green building standards, and now they are. As a matter of fact, some are even more restrictive than what I have in this ordinance. So, since plumbing code and green building standards have caught up with our efficiency ordinance, staff feels it's redundant. It's already covered, there's already regulations statewide that enforce that and require it. And eventually, like, all you can buy in California are these to install them. So we're basically saying this is no longer needed. We can't count the water savings from this ordinance anymore regarding these efficiency standards, because they're now considered passive savings because they're part of regulations. So anyone who gets a building permit and does new construction has to, yeah, already. So it's not a unique
I get my
thing
plumbing
just
parts
to
in Nevada.
the water district. Yeah, I mean. There's always a way around, right? There's always a way around. And so, except for some shower heads, what I've been finding doing inspections on new construction is a really good compliance rate. You know, shower head here and there that someone's bought online that doesn't quite comply and that kind of thing. But overall, especially the items like toilets, we haven't had an issue with non-compliance. It's overall, we've seen a very good compliance rate with the efficiency standards. Because as it becomes more norm in the state. And that's all you can purchase
So
legally.
all the redlining and removal doesn't diminish the requirements we have for water conservation and doing all the things we need to do to be sure that we're using water efficiently. It's simply, we piggyback on all the other things that have come since we established these things.
Yeah.
And simply don't need them anymore in our own policy.
Right.
Is that,
That's, yes.
okay, no, there's a lot of red stuff here.
There's a lot of red.
A lot of
I know.
red stuff. And
I
it's like,
know.
whoa. So you're saying it's okay, don't.
Kind of.
Yeah, this, yeah, it's being handled by other code
Okay, fine, no.
at a
We're
state
not
level.
losing
so-
anything in the transaction here,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
But, so there are new regulations that will be implemented statewide. And so I did make a note in the staff report that I will be coming back and amending this ordinance again with the new efficiency standards, depending
Okay.
on what the state comes up with.
Can't we just say we comply with whatever the governor's doing this week? That way it'll automatically update.
Continually update.
Yeah.
I mean, this seems silly that we have to update our code, our rules every time. All right, can I read the amendment we're approving?
Are you,
So what I'm asking is, we proposed, that we have, since it's an ordinance, we have to have a public hearing. So what staff is recommending is that the board set the date for a public hearing to amend ordinance and set the date for September 11th at 7 PM.
You're gonna have to do a lot of advertising to get a big turnout for that.
Yeah, really, they beat the
you have to
bushes.
put, you have to put notification for the hearing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Did your paper?
It'll be advertised, yes.
Posted and online and all.
Is that an election day?
No, September.
Oh, yeah.
September.
All right, I make a motion that we adopt the proposed amendments to the indoor water use efficiency ordinance and setting.
Wait, Glenn, we're not adopting it, we're just setting a date.
I'm
We've
reading
considered
it. Aren't I supposed to read it?
Are we?
You're not adopting it, you
Not
just are
adopting it.
considering it.
We
Setting the date
considered
for
it,
the,
and now we're gonna set a public hearing date.
And then we can adopt it, right?
Right.
So do I.
Public hearing and then
Let's
adopt.
just adopt it now. and
Can
get
I
it over
read
with.
it?
So you need to set the public hearing portion.
All right, I make a motion, we set the date of the public hearing. How's that?
For September 11th?
Yeah.
Getting warmer.
Is that enough? Or do we have to
They
say
pay
what
to come to these?
I was busy reading the whole thing.
Considering ordinance
All right.
2018-01.
Is that enough? Okay.
Oh,
We understand. We'll put the
Second.
appropriate
perfect, put the title.
wording in the minutes.
Yep.
Huh?
Yes,
Okay.
that's good.
Second,
Second.
Dr. Michelson?
Yes.
Vice President Coverdale?
Aye.
Dr. Reynolds?
Yep.
Dr. Glassberg?
Aye.
President Feldman?
yes. I need to commend Kathleen,
Yeah,
As
I was going to
always.
say that, yes, I want to.
as always.
She does an amazing
for
job of keeping up with all
her eye on the
this, yes.
ball, watching the store,
It's
and
crazy.
generally keeping our act together, because this stuff is not for the faint of heart. I mean, it's stuff that you have to keep your eye on. No. So again, once again, you always are there with the right things at the right time for us, and we appreciate your efforts as always.
Thank you.
The governor and the legislature are keeping Kathleen really
I was
busy.
gonna say, job
She gets a
security-
master's in
job
law.
security at its finest. All righty, let's see, item,
Not to mention burning up the red ink in the printer.
What were you do about color printers?
Yeah, well, what would we do if we didn't have red
okay,
printing?
Mary with the Assistant General Manager's
When's the
report.
last time you used red in your printer?
Well, first of all, we closed our financing this past month, and we'll see savings of $47,568 a year for the, through the end of the loan for the next 13 years, so that's great. So it was easy, relatively easy.
If you think of house closing and stuff, you should see this thing. Oh, there are 27 different forms that have to
Yeah.
be signed, yes, quite fascinating. Fortunately, computers take care of generating all this stuff, but
Yeah.
definitely not not for the faint of heart.
But we had a great team.
No, it
who,
is.
Who, between our agent and our bond
Bond
counsel,
counsel, yes.
you know,
I was impressed.
everything went very smoothly, so. The other item I want to talk about is our AMI and WaterSmart. We have been contacting customers with high usage nearly daily. We've been averaging now about 80 issues a month. And so of seeing constant consumption, and our phone calls are being very well received. I mean, at first, sometimes I think that, that our customers will be a little nervous of why are we calling, but we have really, helped a lot of our customers. So it's, I think it's, this is, a great thing, for us.
What are we finding the majority of the leaks are?
Toilets
Yeah,
and
that-
irrigation.
Yeah, it's almost rhetorical, but do we prompt the customer into, that's the first places they should look?
Right, yes,
Okay, so
we
we do kind of give them
Yes, we
a
go
starting
through, yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a great person, Vicki Heath, she is just fantastic with talking to the customer. She used to work the escalation phone at AT&T for phone problems, complaints.
Oh, boy,
So-
she's probably heard it all.
And she's so great at calming customers down with problems and taking them through all the questions. So I think, this has been a great thing. Now what we're doing over the past month, we've really started to push WaterSmart. And so everybody who we call or calls us with a high bill, we say, do you want to get on WaterSmart, and you can see your problems. So we've had, right now in our pilot, we've had 42, I think we're now higher than that, 50 or whatever, but, and we're saying, some people don't use it, but we get statistics of who's using it. We have one person who has logged on 83 times, so.
They need a job.
But,
Addiction.
so, what we plan to do is do a constant contact email later this month. We also plan to put together a postcard sending out to our customers, inviting them to, to log on WaterSmart. I think part of the big thing is that we really, we want this to turn into kind of a self-serve situation where customers are watching their bills and watching their usage, so.
That's awesome.
No, it sounds great. No, it's more value added for the customer and our support of our customers. Any comments on Mary's report?
Great
Okay,
job.
great job, yeah, good going. Next
Can I ask
is-
her a question about the bond refinancing?
Yeah.
Cool. So when you say present value of the savings, so the 713 would be actual from the start of the bond,
Right.
but this is actually the amount
yeah,
saved
with interest,
from now?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, from
From,
the total of the savings will be the 700,000. We'll make 700 and whatever thousand less
On
in
paper.
payments than, but the money that we pay out 10 years from now is worth less because of inflation. So that present value just brings all that back to the present day.
I'm not going
At-
with that. I
at
think
a
it's the
5% rate.
713.
So
I'm sticking with the 713.
Okay.
it's 713, yeah.
Thanks.
Good number.
Based on what I'm talking
The
about.
return on my portfolio, it's, 6 of one, half dozen of the others.
James, want to give us the update on the operations report?
Good evening, board members. It's been a busy month. The new distribution operator started at the end of July. He's off to a great start, great contribution to the crew, and we're very impressed with his abilities so far. We had a couple service on leaks on Poplar, installed a couple of wet barrel hydrants instead of the dry barrels last month, and we also installed some markers inside the normally closed valves so that we don't open them by accident, which I've found is very valuable. Sometimes If you open a normally closed valve, it will blow out a hillside or make two zones mix and overpressurize the downstream customers. So that's another little added reminder so that we don't have those kind of problems. And the operations staff, John Davis and myself, have been meeting with the city monthly to coordinate with projects, and that's going very well, and establishing a really good rapport there. Denniston Reservoir, the wells, the Denniston Wells, Crystal Springs, and Pillar Cedars were the sources in July. Denniston Water Treatment Plant had to shut down last week due to lack of water. Hopefully we'll start up if this next week if the misty weather continues. So the coastal fog helps us with that. Andrini Brothers has completed the 2-inch project outside of some paving. They did a great job, worked very well with the district, and were efficient and very cooperative and solving discoveries out in the field. I'm very impressed with the contractor there. We installed the water treatment plant heater at Denniston and the propane tank, did the pad in-house. That came out real nice. And we are moving forward with the Denniston Pump Station Transformer project, and hopefully that will be happening next month. So things are lining up. Crystal Springs motors were installed last week and this week. We still have to wire one up completely, but that's happened. And then just on the backflow, to address Director Reynolds' comment, very good comment. I did spot that myself. I would like to take time with staff and look at all the backflow regs and come back and do some of those fixes. And sometimes it's better to just put a backflow as required rather than specifying, because certain field conditions will sometimes require that you do an air gap or other measures. So if you have any questions, I'm here at your pleasure.
Last week, according to Todd's report, the Denniston Reservoir production was about 1 million gallons. Okay. You say that mist helps us, the fog and stuff. What does that mean exactly?
It helps the farmer out there.
Oh, okay, so.
So we're sharing the water source, so he doesn't irrigate as much when it's drizzling
Do we
mist.
see an increase in the amount that we would be able to generate then, do you think? I mean, is that significant?
It's not so
or-
much precipitation, it's more that the farmer doesn't have to irrigate. And
So, I mean, it's gone down from a lot to, 4 and then to 3, and it's going down slowly. Do you think it goes back up as we get mist, or it stays about the same? It's not going to.
I don't think so. I think the flow in the creek is probably consistent,
Right. So
and
it's-
Dave Lea's demand is lower
Okay, so it's not going to change a lot. Okay, no.
until it rains.
Until it rains, no. So we're seeing the bottom of the curve at this point.
Brussels sprouts.
And it's a nice opportunity to catch it with maintenance.
No.
There's all
I'm
kinds
just
of
at-
little
again,
projects, so
no,
it's
just
a
we
mixed
expect
blessing.
this kind of thing to happen as we get
But-
into the summer, basically.
But there's something you'll see in the production report in those pie graphs, which is pretty interesting
Yeah.
and different from the past, and that is that a substantial portion, almost half of our current production is coming from Pillar Cedars Reservoir.
No, I noticed that, no.
So,
we're getting.
The tweaks that the staff has made to the pressure reducing valve in Pillar
Right.
Cedars Canyon have really allowed us to save a lot of power. And we discovered that sort of accidentally. We didn't know that would really work. And it has worked and is working consistently. So that's an interesting and beneficial thing now.
Yeah, it was a nice discovery.
Yeah,
The blending?
yeah.
It got down to closing a valve, and luckily operators are pretty lazy, and they thought, well, we don't need to close that, and then it started blending. So my hat goes off to staff for maximum efficiency with minimum effort.
We wouldn't call it lazy. Put a little different label on it, yes. They like to conserve effort.
Yes.
Other question for James? Okay, I don't have anything for Mr.
No, that's it.
General Manager. Director, agenda items, future board meetings and committee meetings. Request for future items.
I just wanted to share that Shelley and I have put our house up for sale, and if it sells, we would be moving out of the state. So nothing is happening yet. I mean, it hasn't, the sign went up today, but I didn't want people to find out other than by me sharing that with you. I'll keep you updated as we know more.
Is it the drippy weather, drippy fog?
No, this is not my state anymore. After 6 generations of us being in this state, it's not my state anymore.
I'm kinda, I share your feeling. I just have a ball and chain here, but I do share your feeling.
Well, thank us for alerting us to that, and as time progresses,
posted.
we will hear more from you, or hope-
Yeah,
or not.
absolutely. Or not, right,
not.
or not.
Preferably not, but
You're gonna have a hard time, buddy.
any other comments for
I know.
the future
We
meeting?
need to get him to
Okay.
quit.
The general manager has,
You know what I mean?
Oh,
I'm sorry,
no, I'm sorry, we're being out of line here.
the general manager has alerted me to the fact that he has not forgotten certain of the things which we have put on his plate for the future meetings and things. And he is working diligently on them, even spending more time on the strategic
On what?
planning stuff. He's managed to find a few hours in his halftime
On the licensing update? No?
assignment. So hopefully, at some point, we will hear more about groundwater stuff and what that means to us. So we'll leave it to him to do that. And he also brought to my attention that he thinks for strategic planning and future discussions at some point, the need for looking at water security in the whole area of what's going to happen as the state moves forward on doing all of these new regulations and things about how water gets used and what it's used for. It needs to be looked at for our own edification to see what it means to us in terms of our water supply and what we may have to consider going forward. Is that correct? Did I say
I
that?
couldn't have said it better.
Okay, so he's gonna come back to us at some point with a proposal, some agenda item on that item, yes.
So since Patrick's sitting watching cartoons on front of his TV, you could remind him that a year and a half ago, he had said he was going to update us on our responsibilities on district communication on personal electronic devices.
Got it. In light of the San Jose case and the Public Records Act?
How you, yeah, right.
Got it.
Communicate.
That's why you guys did all so well in law school, is you kept track of this stuff.
Well, he doesn't.
And it's not burningly urgent. I
Right.
just figured he had his feet up on the sofa while the people brought him little bags of Cheetos and
That sounds like him,
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other items that we have to remind our GM about? Okay. With that being it, we'll
Too bad it was almost a record.
Yeah, you almost were under an hour.
adjourn the meeting.
You
Thank you. Was that all?
almost had a new record.